So I meant to tell you guys this during class, or during the last video, to take a picture of your artwork before you cut it up. So make sure you do that. And I'm going to remind you in class when you're watching this, so hopefully no one's going to watch that video before that. So what you're going to do is you're going to decide, so you've got 3, or maybe you have 4. I said you could do another one. I'm just kind of turning them, figuring out which one I like I'm looking at them from different angles. I don't know why. I really like this, the blue and the orange thing here. But I kind of like that one too. So I'm going to pick my favorite one. Shoot. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Gosh, it's driving me crazy. I love this blue and orange, but I don't like this up here. So I might use this one, but I might kind of combine it. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to take this and enlarge it. It's actually called, they call it grid, like grid drawing, grid enlargement. It's basically using a grid to enlarge your drawing. And this is a technique that's used by a lot of different people. It's a drawing technique. So the trick is, normally you're gonna measure it, but I was trying not to have you guys measure. So these little pieces that I cut out was the same sized paper as what my final is gonna go onto. So you wanna make sure it's the same size, because that's how it works, all right? So first thing I'm gonna do is, just like we did on the other paper, we folded it. Right, exact same way we folded it initially, fold it in half and then fold it in half again. And then open it back up. And fold it in half lengthwise. So just like we did on the other one, you now have 8 squares. And I'm going to draw my lines so I can see them better. You want to do this super, super lightly. Like, you don't want to see the lines. That's not a part of your artwork. So really, really lightly. Hopefully you guys can see that enough. I don't want to make it super dark. But you're basically dividing up your paper in the same amount of sections that you started with, okay? So I've got my 8 squares. Now, I'm gonna go back to my original. If you use tape, and I just taped these down, 5 seconds ago, so it's gonna come up really easily. If for some reason it doesn't come up easily, you guys can just, cut it out. You can cut it out. So you basically want it all by itself. I'm just gonna, it's not gonna peel off, so I'm just gonna leave it down. So I've got my little drawing that I want to enlarge. And again, don't forget, you're gonna take a picture of your thumbnails and turn that in as an assignment. And I'm gonna remind you in class too, before you even start cutting, take a picture of the entire thing before you start. So you've got your, you've got this thing, you've got the entire thing. Make sure you take a picture of that first. And then when you get all your thumbnails down, take a picture of that. So this is basically, I'm taking this project and turning it into several different assignments. So the second part we're gonna do is you are going to choose the one you want. I've chosen that, so I can put those other ones to the side. And this is the paper I'm gonna draw it onto. So now I have something little that I want to enlarge. And the easiest way to do this, and you can do this with any drawing that you have, any photograph, anything that you want to enlarge, you basically turn the drawing into a grid, and then the grid corresponds with that. So it's all about proportion. Okay, so what I want to do is the paper that I'm going on to has 8, and this is probably going to be confusing, so you're going to have a lot of questions, but that's okay. My paper I'm going on to has 8 squares, right? So I want this to have 8 squares. So easy thing to do, fold it in half, just like we did on the big paper, fold it in half again, open it back up, and fold it in half lengthwise. So what's gonna happen is now my little thumbnail has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 squares or rectangles. and then the paper does. So what's in this rectangle will be here. What's in this rectangle will be there, and so on. So if you need to draw on your paper, you can. I'll go ahead and do that for you guys. If the fold itself is enough, that's fine. Okay, so you've got 8 squares and 8 squares. So they correspond with each other. Now, if this is super confusing and you want to go even further, you can divide this up even a little bit more. So whatever you do to this paper, right? I just folded that into the middle. You have to do the same thing for the other one, the big paper. And some of you guys, I mentioned, if you've got something really big, a big sheet of paper, you can use that. But whatever paper you use, you want to use the same one that you use to make your little drawings. So they correspond. So now I've divided that up even further, right? I have 16 squares and 16 squares. Well, let me draw that line. So what's going to happen is, what's in this square? Let me zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to start on this top right corner. And I'm going to start on the top right corner. So what I'm going to do is see about halfway down, this line starts. And it comes across to about 1/3 of the way. So kind of do a mark. And I'm doing this with pen. You should do it with pencil. You know what? I'll use pencil so you guys don't get confused. Where's my pencil? Okay. About halfway down, which is like halfway down. And then a line going over about 1/3. So I'm going to draw that line. And as I draw, my eye is going back and forth between what I'm drawing and where I'm drawing. And this comes across here. And then look, I've got that little guy in the corner. He's maybe, what, 1/4 of the way down. I'm gonna draw that. And he goes over, again, about 1/4 of the way. So kind of get that square done. Don't worry about the color right now. You're just getting the line drawing. Now I'm going to move over to the next square. All right, that square comes up, it goes to a point. And I'm drawing this really kind of darkly with my pencil so that you guys can see it really well. Look, this is way up here in the corner. So way up here in the corner, that line's going to come over here. Okay, and then up here I've got this thing that comes over. Oh, I've got another line, sorry. I have a line that almost dissects this whole thing. Draw it really lightly. You can go back and kind of fix it. Like I just kind of screwed that up. All right, so then I've got this guy. So where is that going? That's halfway, that's 1/4. Maybe like right here. This guy curves around. And then I've got this little thing down here, this little orange scoop. So that's halfway, almost halfway, just past it. And doesn't quite hit that one, and then comes down to the corner. I might have to redraw that one a little bit. I made it too sharp. Don't worry about messing this one up because we're gonna trace it so that you won't have all these erasing marks. All right. So you kind of keep going square by square as you go along so that you can get this little thumbnail onto the big paper. Okay. So that's what we're going to do today, and then I'll show you guys how to trace it really easily. So like I said, don't worry about kind of, you know, these eraser marks and stuff. I'm going to show you guys how to trace it so it all looks nice and neat and clean. Okay, let's get started.